Good afternoon. Welcome once again to another episode of BB Hockey Talk. I'm Aaron Bloxel with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Today we're going to do a review of all last night's games and get you up to date with all the action around the NHL. We're going to let you know what stood out for us again in preseason, as we just can't wait for regular season to start. But lots of people trying out for teams. Lots of former Canucks scoring goals around the league. And we're going to also touch on, obviously, the Montreal, Florida incident a little bit last night. So, Matt, welcome to the show again.
Yeah, I can't wait. It was a bit of a dull night watching the Canucks. I think at least the third period was somewhat exciting, but it was a bit of a snooze fest yesterday.
So the good news for Montreal is they didn't have a player unconscious or knocked out or carried off to the hospital, but they now have a player that's going to be suspended for the rest of preseason. That game last night, great game by both Luongo and Price, the goaltenders that started for both teams. Once they got replaced halfway through the game, we started seeing some goal scoring. But Max Domi decided to, after getting a bit of a shot from Aaron Ekblad, decided to try to fight him, punched him a couple of times, and when the refs came in, decided to throw his gloves off and sucker punch him right in the face. Why don't you comment on that incident, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff around the league.
Yeah. So Ekblad and Domi sort of got mixed up a little bit, and then you get the couple of shoves, and then usually that's where the players skate away. But Domi kept going at Ekblad, and Ekblad didn't want any of it. Ekblad, he had all the concussions last year, and it's preseason, so you don't want to risk getting an injury. And then Domi decided to drop the one glove, and we know Domi, from his old man and from him knocking out Kessler last year, that guy can punch. But yeah, is this a complete cheap shot? And the frustrating thing is with him only getting suspended for the preseason, I wish he would have gotten at least one regular season game. I think that's something the NHL can look at for suspensions, because we had like Tom Wilson last year with his suspensions, but that was only through preseason. So when it's only preseason, like teams couldn't care less. It's just more rest for for one of their top players, and then once when the regular season comes, and that's when they start making their money, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there was other incidents between those two players, maybe getting back to a later date or something that happened, earlier in the game. But it was definitely a cheap shot. It was unnecessary. Ekblad was all bloodied and cut up from it. Domi maybe just trying to make a case to the Montreal fans about how he's going to bring some toughness, even though he doesn't bring a lot of size, to that club that's been starving for size and toughness for years. He just lost his cool a little bit. But in that game, one of the guys that stood out for me was former Canuck Jared McCann. Scored a great goal, going wide, cutting in, power move, and put it through Niemi's legs. He also scored a goal off of a terrible Niemi giveaway where Dennis Malgin was able to steal the puck and center it to him, and he was able to get a couple of goals. That being said, what stood out for you last night from around the league? And we'll talk a little bit about the Canucks after we get through that.
All right. Yeah, so in the Toronto-Ottawa game, Austin Matthews and Patrick Marleau, who seem to be teammates this year, they hooked up for a pretty nice give-and-go goal with Matthews finishing off a really nice passing play. Tyler Ennis, who's right now replacing William Nylander on that top line, had a couple goals, including a nice bar-down goal in the third period. Also, in the Detroit-Pittsburgh game, Tristan Jarry had 41 saves for an overtime loss, though. But Jussi Jokinen, who's on the tryout with Detroit, had a goal. And BC native from around here, Dennis Chowalski, had 2 assists for Detroit in over 23 minutes on the ice. And he's one of those young defensemen that I think could make Detroit's back end just with all the really old veterans and needing a change and a spark with some youth movement back there. And also in the Philadelphia New York Rangers game, Oscar Lindblom had a great game. Had 2 goals, 3 points. One of his goals came off a nice shot where the puck came out and he whacked it right out of the air over Lundqvist's glove for a really nice goal. But yeah, those were the things that caught my eye yesterday when I wasn't being bored by the Canucks.
Tristan Jarry, to me, stood on his head, looked really good for Pittsburgh in net. Of those 41 saves that you talked about, several were quality scoring chances. Detroit's top players looked pretty good. Anthony Mantha, Dylan Larkin, and prospect Michael Rasmussen looked really good as well. And as well, you already mentioned Cholowski. But Rasmussen, it's hard not to see him on the ice. Being 6'6" or 6'7", whatever his size is, really stands out for Pittsburgh. I also noticed they had both Jack Johnson and Adam Johnson playing, and neither one of them had a letter on their jersey, so they both had the last name Johnson on the back of their jersey, and it looked kind of odd. You don't normally see that in an NHL game. But Jani Kukkonen in Carolina had a goal and 2 assists, helping Carolina win last night. Trying to think of who else. Henrik Lundqvist, to me, didn't look very good at all. Hopefully he's just working out some of the rust from the offseason, because the Rangers, with the young roster they're going to field this year, are going to really need him to step up and probably stand on his head a few games. And let's talk about Vancouver-Calgary. I mean, it was a terrible hockey game. It was really boring to watch. Both teams had a lot of young players dressed. For me, the Canucks, Reed Boucher stood out on a couple of shifts. Leipzig really redeemed himself a little bit from the night before and stood out. But again, he's just playing against young guys. If you're a Calgary Flames fan now, you have some pretty good players that are coming up that stood out. Of course, most of their main players are just finished up in China and aren't on their way back. But David Rittich looked great in net. Even though a lot of the shots were maybe from the outside, he did what he had to do, and he stopped every single shot that he faced through the first 2 periods. Spencer Fu, as well as Dylan Dubé, looked pretty good. 2 young guys. And, of course, PTO, ex-Vancouver Giant captain Gilbert Brulé was a guy that caught my eye. And it's good to see that he's trying to make a comeback to the NHL. How about what stood out for you, Matt?
Yeah. So Boucher, I thought, was the Canucks' best player from start to finish. Seven shots on goal, 11 attempts, and 2 of those were crossbars that could have easily, if it was just another centimeter down or whatever, could have been goals. Leipzig caught my eye a little bit. I think with the goal that he did score, I think he basically guaranteed him a spot on the team to start, even though it was against Tyler Parsons.
I still don't think he's going to make it.
No, with all the injuries, with Eriksson out and Musil a question mark, I think there's more than enough spots right now. Adam Gaudette played 22 and a half minutes, including 9 minutes and 14 seconds of the third period.
Wow.
And the final minute 45 of the third period as well. I think he got better as the game went on, especially in the third period. He had one really nice play where he cut down the right wing, did a nice spin move, and he fell on his knees, but he was able to get a nice saucer pass over to Leipzig for a good scoring chance, and he got a chance on the rebound off that shot as well. But other than that, it's like it starts to go downhill pretty quick. I thought DiPietro, for the 1 period that he played, was pretty solid. He had a couple nice glove saves against the Flames. But other than that, I'll get to my disappointments here. I thought Derek Pouliot had a terrible game on the back end. I think he was trying to do a little bit too much. I know he was playing on the right side, which I know he can play, but I think he's more comfortable on that left side. But there was a couple of times where he just gave up bad giveaways that led to either a goal or high scoring chances. Olli Juolevi was pretty quiet last night. He only played just under 17 minutes, but I would have liked to have seen him get a little bit of power play time. But that was mostly dominated by Alex Edler on the back end, which I thought was the Canucks' best defenseman. But other than that, nobody on the back end really stood out to me. And Thatcher Demko, I thought he was all right. The first goal wasn't a good goal, and he said it himself as much, that he would have liked that one back. The second goal, Gaudette lost Fu along the boards. He just did sort of a flyby, and Fu was able to come right across the slot and outweight Demko for the goal. And then the third goal, shorthanded 2-on-1, which the Canucks power play was not overly good last night. They were giving up a lot of odd man rushes, and that one you couldn't do a whole lot. I know he's still doing a few adjustments with the new goalie coach, doing a few adjustments to his game. I saw Jason Botrid in his report after the game that I guess in the one NHL game that Demko played last year, he broke down Ian Clark, the Canucks goalie coach, broke down like 40 different like video clips on adjustments and stuff. So it's still a learning curve for him. Like I know with the new goalie coach, with going from Rolly Melanson to Dan Cloutier now to Ian Clark, I guess with Clark, he's not making any like major adjustments with any of the goalies, just little things here and there. So hopefully as the preseason goes along, Demko can continue to play better, but he wasn't overly sharp for what I wanted to see.
Yeah, I know DiPietro never let in any goals in the third period, but of course the Canucks let him go today back to his junior team. They sent a few players back down to the minors, which we were expecting. And after tonight's game, I know they're going to make a whole bunch more decisions and start reducing their roster size. Signing in the NHL a couple days ago that we missed. Why don't you talk us through Buffalo and re-signing Sam Reinhart?
Yeah. So Buffalo got Sam Reinhart on a bridge deal, 2 years, $7.3 million. It's a $3.65 million cap hit. I think this is a really good move for Buffalo. Reinhart, I believe, had 25 goals and 50 points last year, somewhere along those lines. So if he can really step up, and if he gets to play with Jack Eichel on that top line, he could get to 30 goals and maybe 60-plus points this year, and then really cash in a couple years. But that's a big move for Buffalo's top six going into this year.
And to wrap up the show, Vancouver, third game and third night with another totally different team against the Los Angeles Kings. Is it going to be worth watching tonight? Who do they have playing?
Oh yeah. So totally different lineup. Like as you said, I think Canucks are going to make send a lot of guys down to Utica after this game. But today it's going to be really exciting to watch. We got the top line of Jonathan Dahlen, Bo Horvat, and making his preseason debut, Brock Besser on that top line. I can't wait to see how that trio goes, especially Besser coming off the wrist surgery. We saw a little bit in the Beauty League over the summer, so I can't wait to see him in the Canucks uniform on the ice tonight. The second line coming back as a trio: Berchi, Pettersson, and Godolman on that second line. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they can improve from last game.
Definitely worth another look for sure, that line.
Oh yeah, and Pettersson had the quote, and they were asking, "No, what can you improve on from the last game?" He's just like, "I'll do the exact same thing as last game, except this time I want to score." So I know, yeah. So he's got that nice cockiness to his game. The third line will be Darren Archibald, Jay Beagle, and Jake Virtanen. Archibald and Beagle, this is their first preseason games. Beagle looks like from the fitness testing and everything, he scored the best over. So it'll be interesting to see how those guys do. And Virtanen playing with a couple checkers. We'll see how he does offensively there.
A lot of speed and some big bodies too. Like Beagle and Virtanen are two of the faster Canucks, and Archibald and Virtanen are two of the bigger Canucks. So it might be a bit of a crash line there.
Mm-hmm. And then the fourth line I have is Tim Schaller, Marcus Granlund, and Tyler Mott. That'll be the fourth line. I know you were somewhat impressed with Mott's speed in that first game that he played. I'm hoping we get a little bit more from Marcus Granlund tonight. The power play units will be that big power play unit. The first unit will be Berchi, Horvat, Besser, Pedersen, and Hutton on that top unit. And the second unit will be Dolan, Granlund, Godolin, Virtanen, and Del Zotto. So we'll get that big unit with Besser and Pedersen both on those on the half walls. And then the defense tonight will be Hutton and Tanev, Del Zotto, Goodbranson, Gilliam Brisebois, and Alex Biega. Brisebois making his debut tonight for the Canucks. I'm hoping Hutton can have a better game defensively at least than off his first game. And in net will be Jacob Markstrom and Ivan Kolbakov. Markstrom, this is his first ice time. I believe he might go the first 2 periods, and then Kolbakov might get the third period. I like Kolbakov's game in that Young Stars tournament where I think he made like 40-something saves in that game. But I think that'll be the most action he gets, and then he'll get sent down to Utica. And most of the guys that played yesterday will get sent down to Utica after tonight.
I'm sure Richard Bachman would probably get sent down as well, unless they decide to give him half a game or a game. Anyways, that's our show for today. Remember to like and share us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave your comments below. Yeah, right here. Leave them below on this episode. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know about how your team's doing and who your favorite players are so far and what you're looking forward to this season. Or are you just dying for this season to get started already? So, but we'll give you more news and notes tomorrow and on the next episode. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next show.